Hi, I'm Anna. Today I will be talking to Natalie from Middleman Management about the importance of making sure you know what you're signing up for when you sign a contract to purchase property. Natalie, as a buyer's advocate, you help your clients to find the right property to purchase. So I think that while you help people sign a purchase contract, as a lawyer, I often find myself helping clients get out of purchase contracts, and I know we've had a laugh about that in the past. From your perspective, how do buyers best protect themselves when it comes to buying property so that they don't end up turning to solicitors like me and saying, hey, how do I get out of this?
Thanks, Anna. So having a solicitor that can look over your contract's really important. The timing of that's also very important. So you must ensure as a buyer you have it reviewed before you sign the contract rather than after. It helps cover off and protect yourself as a buyer, and then you won't need to go to someone like yourself as a solicitor to get out of the contract. There are some things that will apply to all buyers across the board, but other things are tailored to the specific needs of the buyer in question. Different people need different things, and to be prepared based on your own individual circumstances before you negotiate and sign.
So in terms of those different needs that different people have, if a buyer requires finance, for example, what sort of clauses do you like to see that buyer sign up to in a contract?
Look, if a buyer has formal approval, then they can feel confident in entering into a contract without signing, for a finance clause. Likewise, when they go to an auction, that is, negotiated under unconditional terms, so it can't be subject to finance. However, if they don't have formal approval, then it is recommended they do put a finance clause in the contract. One thing to be conscious of there is that some banks at the moment are taking longer than what they typically used to take. We've seen cases of up to 8 weeks for formal approval to be in place. So that's just something to keep in mind, when putting a finance clause in place and the timeframes around that.
So it's the case that usually people are diligent enough to kind of have the finance clause in place, but sometimes it's not. That where they get caught out is that the finance clause is for, say, 30 days rather than for the actual commercial time frame, I guess, that we find ourselves requiring now. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Look, and depending on the vendor and the agent you're dealing with, they may or may not accept a longer finance clause time frame for that to come through. We've had instances where I've seen, only 14 days being allowed as part of the offer being put forward. So that may, also not be to a buyer's benefit to not be prepared and have the formal approval in place.
Yeah, sure. So it's better to be safe than sorry, but it also depends on the negotiation that you have between the
Absolutely. Look, generally speaking, we do like to see, buyers with formal pre-approval, and then they can, enter into negotiations, whether that's private sale or, an off the market purchase or an auction, with confidence, that their finance is in order.
Yep, that's entirely reasonable and fair enough. Are there any other clauses that you would recommend to be included when it comes to signing other than the finance clauses?
Look, we do like to see that clients get building inspections done. If they haven't had the time or the opportunity, depending how quickly a property comes onto the market and offers are put forward, then you may need to put subject to a building inspection, and that way you're not going to find out at a later date that there's structural issues or anything like that, and again have to go back to a solicitor and try and wriggle your way out of that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a really important one. Like you said, the building inspections can reveal structural defects. And so if a structural defect is revealed, obviously it gives rise to a purchaser being able to validly get out of a contract and to get their deposit back without any further liability. So kind of walk away from that signed contract in the same position that they were in before they signed it. That's something that I find myself doing relatively frequently at Catcher Legal. Natalie, is there anything else that prospective buyers should watch out for?
Look, I think if they're buying a house or land, you want to look for, easements that may restrict what you can do with the block itself. If it's an apartment or a strated property, then obviously you want to look into the owner's corporation minutes and make sure there's no works that are due to come up that you might be liable to pay for, and also look at the history of the building to understand its, condition, I guess.
Natalie, my next question to you, I'm going to ask you in two parts. First of all, can you walk us through the due diligence and the research that's required for a prospective buyer before committing to a purchase? And the second leg of that question is, why is it that having a buyer's advocate like yourself would facilitate that due diligence process to be a smoother one?
Look, I think a lot of buyers, it's not something they do a number of times in their lifetimes. It's only something that generally occurs maybe once or twice. So using a buyer's advocate, we're negotiating and working with buyers and agents on a regular basis. So we know what to look for and the process and the questions to ask when purchasing a property. So generally, every property is sold by a different agent and a different negotiation method. So we just work in with that and understand the selling method and put a plan in place to purchase that property around the selling method. And, depending on, we would recommend getting building inspections done at certain points and also contract reviews done at certain points and guide the purchaser through that process.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, if you have problems with your car, you turn to a mechanic. If you have legal problems, you turn to a solicitor. So it makes perfect sense that if you're not astute at buying properties and don't have an extensive, real estate portfolio, that it would make sense to turning to a professional again for guidance on that. Natalie, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights about what to watch out for before signing a property purchase contract, so you don't end up at Catch a Legal's doorstep figuring out how to get out of that contract. As stated at the beginning of this video, Natalie is a buyer's advocate at Middleman Management. If you're interested in engaging Natalie's services, her contact details can be found in the comment section below. Thank you once again for joining me today, Natalie.
Thanks, Anna. See you next time.